This is ContactTalkRadio.com, consciousness in action, and you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here, leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and you know why that is. There's two reasons, two really big reasons that it's a groovy day. Number one is it's Life Mastery Radio Day. I get to hang out with some really cool people with some really cool thoughts and ideas, and of course, riding shotgun with me is my good friend Jackie Bailey, and we just have an absolute blast. The second reason is when I got up this morning, before my feet hit the ground, I already decided that it was going to be a groovy day. And that's the way it turns out. So no matter what happens throughout the day, I can always think back and turn it into a groovy day, just as easy as a thought. And we're probably going to talk a little bit more about that today. So you stick around for more great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. Hi, Jackie. How are you today, my friend?
I'm good. I have a question to ask you. Is that song always playing in your head? Feeling groovy.
Totally.
Is that always in your head? Is that what brings you back to the groovy
And I always
spot?
think, I always think about saying hello to the lamppost.
Right.
That always comes up. Say hello to the lamppost.
Hello,
I don't say it so much.
lamppost. How
What
you
you
doing?
do? What you
Or
knowing?
What you knowing? There it is.
What you know?
What you knowing?
An inanimate
Love it.
object has feelings too. No, I'm just
There
kidding.
you go. Well, sometimes inanimate objects give us emotions, right? So for you, maybe a lamp.
Well, more than that, it's a reminder.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that feeling groovy. Da 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 da. There's a couple other songs with the word groovy in it, and I always pick up on that word. I hear people, I'll watch a YouTube video or something, and somebody will say that word, and it just like brings joy to my heart, is what it
Right. Yeah.
does. High vibe. It's a high vibe word for me.
It is a high vibe word. It's kind of coming back. I think it's making a comeback.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So how are things at Speak, Feed, Lead? You got some programs cooking. You got people can help out, help the kids attend your classes, and tell us a little bit about it.
There are lots of ways people can help. In fact, we have been in the Speak, Feed, Lead project. When I say we, that's who I'm talking about. Have been invited to allow some of our young women, our students, to speak at a summit for International Women's Day. And this is going to be the first time that this particular summit is going to offer an opportunity for girls as young as 10 through the age of 20 to speak on this international stage. And it's interesting to me that when I bring it up to my students, some of them are like, yeah, let's do that. And then some are like, I don't want to do that. So there's this fear of an international stage. Oh my gosh, what would I say? And they don't necessarily have to have a keynote speech ready. It's going to be an interview style. So they need to just decide on the subject matter they would like to be questioned about. And for 20 minutes, they just get to answer questions about this particular subject. And we are looking for people to sponsor these young women. It costs each of them $49 to be on this summit. If you would like to cover the admin fees for a young woman to be on this summit, we invite you to do that. You can go to speakfeedlead.org. We have a couple of campaigns out there helping the youngsters, and you would be benefiting and empowering the voice of a child if you were to help us out that way.
There's nothing, the return on investment. I mean, it's just, it's amazing. Once you once you light the fire, right, Jackie, you light the fire in their heart and give them that opportunity. And especially on an international stage, I mean, you can't buy that. Well, I suppose you could buy that experience. But
well, I'll tell you what, the first time my first professional gig where I was actually paid to speak, I had to give 2 back-to-back 3-hour workshops at a dental convention, right? And so this was the first time in front of a large group of people about this particular subject matter, and I was getting paid for it for the very first time. And I'll tell you what, I got the bug. It was so fun that when it was over, I remember thinking, I got to do this again.
Yeah, I know.
And that's what happens to you is you kind of feel like the stage is your second home. You get to feeling really comfortable once that initial nervousness goes away. And it feels so great to share your voice, like speaking to people, and you get that bug and you just want to keep doing it. So
contagious.
That's what I'm hoping these young women are going to experience, is that when they get an opportunity to share their voice, they're going to recognize how
they have some incredible messages. I mean, from a perspective, Jackie and I had the ability to go up and be judges in a contest with young people, and just listening to these kids speak and the speeches that they write and their perspective, it's like eye-opening. It's amazing. It's amazing how smart these little buggers are.
They are. And I think they take it, in some ways, they take it a little more seriously than adults do. When they have an opportunity to speak, they really prepare.
Let it out.
They want to make sure that they do their very best and they practice it and they work on it. And so I appreciate that part of it too. Some adults get a little bit lazy about things like that, but the kids seem to recognize this is my chance to really make an impact.
If you want to know more, go to JackieBailey360.com. It's right there on the screen in front of her smiley face. Oh, which, by the way, that's a very cute haircut. I forgot to tell you that. It's new. It's new.
I had a new stylist do it, and
doesn't sound like you're very happy.
It's a whole different experience. The experience itself was not very good. The haircut it's satisfactory.
It's very cute. It's very cute.
The experience was not so much.
I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasterradio.net or .com, whichever one you prefer. And all the links that we talk about, we have links to our wonderful guest's website, and she has some amazing YouTube videos. I spent all morning watching some pretty cool stuff. So you're going to be inspired to go and check her out after the show. But stick around, because we're going to have a great discussion. While you're on the website, sign up for the newsletter. Jackie takes time every week and creates a newsletter about who's been on the show, who's coming on the show, and a blog post about the show that we just did. And read that blog post and it will entice you to go to the YouTube channel and actually listen to the discussion. So it's pretty cool.
In fact, the link to the YouTube video is right there at the end of the blog. So you don't even have to go someplace else. You just click on that link
and check it out. While you're there, there's a link to both of our books. Jackie has a book. You can see it right behind her, Self-Centered Leadership. And of course, my book, 6 Keys to Life Mastery. You can follow the link. Love the book. Give us some feedback and let us know what you think. Okay, Jackie, I do believe this is your guest. So that means you get to do the introduction. So take it away, my friend.
We travel in some of the same circles, and I have been honored to meet her and be part of her network. And her name is Audrey Weidman. And like most of us, she has had some experiences with stress. But she actually suffered a heart attack due to her stress. In fact, people were surprised to hear that because she was one of the healthiest people everybody knew in the way that they described her. But when Audrey realized that stress of her own making was really the key contributor to her heart attack, she learned new skills and started changing her ways, as many of us do. And now Audrey is a coach. And she coaches people how to do the same thing. That is to relieve the stress in our lives. And she has this methodology and resources that she provides. She says stress is a part of life, but how you approach it makes all the difference. And she asks, what is stress costing you? Yes. Is it increased cardiovascular disease? Yes. Is it increased weight gain? Yes. Is it decreased immunity, which is all important to us right now as we're all fighting this pandemic? So we are excited today to have Audrey Weidman here to tell us about her experience and to teach us all a little bit more about how we can take care of ourselves. So welcome to Life Mastery Radio, Audrey. Wonderful to have you.
Jackie, thank you, Todd, for having me.
We are delighted and excited to have you.
And ignited, right? Delighted, excited, and ignited.
Jackie and I have a good friend. She always says that.
That's her little thing. Yeah. So Audrey, what was life like for you before this life-changing event? And what kind of picture can you paint to our listeners who probably are going to connect with that a little bit? And then how did things change?
Yeah, well, I don't know how many of you would describe yourself as a type A personality, but if you identify with that at all, listen even closer still. I am an overachiever. I was through a lot of family conditioning. I was always rewarded every time I got my father's attention whenever I succeeded in school. I especially wanted to please him and chose subjects that I thought he would be proud of me to do rather than following my own jam, because I got rewarded. I got his attention. And I guess this is a point, like if you're of a certain age, actually it should be of whatever age, honor who you are and what brings you joy. And once you're like an adult, or even as a teenager, you have more power than you think in terms of following your own path. And had I done that, even though I'm a type A, I would have gone down something that brought me a lot of pleasure. But as it was, I am an overachiever, so much so.
And a pleaser. Sounds like you're a pleaser too, right?
A pleaser, yes. When I was 20 years old, my father actually died of a heart attack, which was very difficult. I was the oldest, and my sister, who was 15 at the time, found him. And I have a younger brother who's 19 at the time. And one of the first things I said to my mom is, at least I don't have to go to medical school now. Isn't that terrible? Like, I mean, I just said,
you're speaking your truth. I mean,
because I was just so stressed about going down this path that I wasn't all that great at, that I have to work really hard at to achieve a certain level. But that should have clued me in a little bit as to, I really wasn't following my joy. But at the same time, my mom was struggling to keep all the kids in college, and she still had one at home. And
how old was your dad?
My dad was older. He was 66. And
that's not older. Wow. I mean, older than you, obviously, but that's not very old.
He was 17 years older than my mom. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
My mom was 49 and he had kids. He was 62 and I was 20. Right?
Were there signs before his heart attack that he had problems?
Yeah. Yeah. He was a World War II veteran, and he had been a chain smoker for a long time. And then in the 60s, when the Surgeon General came out with this thing that you really shouldn't smoke, because remember, before that, doctors were smoking to relieve stress.
They were prescribing it.
Yes. And so he quit. It took him a number of years. I do remember being in the car with him smoking and getting car sick in the back, but he pretty much quit. And it was very difficult over a number of years, but he had sustained damage. And then he had a really stressful job. He was a doctor also. And he was he's an immigrant, and we were in a little town, and he did everything from delivering babies to setting bones. And when the practice got a little bit bigger, he actually stepped into more of the surgery exclusively, but he was really, really, really busy. And he felt like education and being a doctor, his dream when he was a young man was, he said, you know, that doctor has the nicest house in my village and he's got the prettiest wife. And that's what I want to be when I grow up. And so he actually ran away from home because there was things going on at home, and he went in on a military scholarship and, you know, he became an MD. And he just thought that is the ticket. And here I'm building this thing. He actually was, he immigrated to Canada first. And I didn't tell you that he was German. Yeah, so he was on the wrong side, but he was a medical doctor, like a MASH unit, not a Nazi. But he got his degree in Canada only to discover how much Canadians hated Germans.
Oh, no.
And then he had a German family in Spring Green, Wisconsin, sponsored him because they needed a doctor there. And it was a very German community. And my dad had the privilege of being Frank Lloyd Wright's physician for a time until Frank Lloyd Wright passed away. But it was a very rural, and he had to travel like an hour or more to the closest hospital. It was stressful. And he went up to northern Wisconsin, which, if any of your listeners have ever been there, Wisconsin is not all cows, kind of mid-state. There's lots of forests, and the roads aren't straight because of so many lakes, glaciated lakes. It's beautiful. Well, when it's, 90 degrees in southern Wisconsin or in Chicago, where I am now, it's about, 75, 80 and beautiful. And he brought my mother up there and he said, "You think you could live here?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's beautiful." And she, only to discover it also gets like 3 weeks in winter in January, it's like minus 30 degrees.
Radical swings, right?
Yeah, it was a big transition. But anyway, the long and the short of it is, he was very overworked. He entered into a practice that took a lot of advantage of him. He didn't have a lawyer to check all this, and he was just having to work really hard. And he was already in his mid 40s with 2 little kids and a third one on the way. So anyway, he said, "I'm building all this. I want to give it to you. You are the chosen one," because my brother had ADD and my sister had no interest at all.
So you had all this pressure.
A lot of pressure. And the long and the short of it is that, yes, I ended up getting a food science degree because I had all this like organic chemistry and physics and calculus and all this stuff, which I needed. And I thought, I want the shortest way to get a degree possible. that also gives me that I can make money at. I didn't want to be in a lab all by myself. And, but I ended up doing that because I interned at the Pillsbury Company. If you remember that company, I made ready to spread frosting in a lab, all these variations in a lab all by myself all summer. I thought, I cannot do this. And then I interacted with a lot of the business people, and I thought I would rather be one of them. So I ended up getting an MBA in marketing research because I thought that would be leverage my analytical skills. It's not really my jam, though. It's just that I had been taking all these classes and stuff in that. And I worked in market research for a while until I met the client from hell. And I just said, I'm done. I worked in industry for like 5 years, and then I consulted for 10, like no more. Right at the time when real estate was going big, like 2003. So I'm like, I know how to use my research skills and I'm going to buy real estate, which was great until 2008, 2009.
Right.
When my kids' college education, we thought we were so smart and we invested it into houses, which then all the equity was gone and it was cash flow negative. Right at the time, my daughter was a freshman and the other one was in 7th grade, and there was no time to make things up. So there was just like this guilt of like, oh, I led my family down this path. And somehow I've come to realize it's unrealistic. I kept saying, I should have recognized the signs,
Right.
you know, like me and millions of other people,
Right.
like, you know, like, what did I think that I was so much smarter? But that was kind of my MO. I always thought, well, I'm smart. I should have figured this out. And there was a lot of blame and just, you know, a lot of blame on
That
myself.
you were packing around, and that ultimately led to your heart attack.
Right. Because I was feeling stressed and needing to make up the income, the money that we had lost. And for the first time in a long time, probably ever, I didn't succeed at what I was doing.
Right.
I was trying different things. And I had such negative self-talk that one fall afternoon in the Chicago area, you never know when the snow is going to start. I was cutting down brush and I had my head below my heart and I was doing this chopping motion, you know, for the listeners to like bring laterally, you know, a shear, like a chopper. And all of a sudden I got really dizzy. As I was listening to a podcast about all these unlikely heroes that succeeded, and I thought, I am smarter than them. How could they succeed and not me? Literally, that is what I was listening to at the time. And I always blank out on who he's a man known for his leadership skills. And I kind of blank out on him because I associate this trauma with him. Nothing against him. He's a fabulous thought leader, but I just kept comparing myself. And, you know, one thing that I have come to learn, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, it is.
Everybody is made in their own way. We are all God's children, made in, you know, God doesn't make mistakes. Each one of us is unique. And by comparing, you're taking away from yourself. You're just somehow not finding what's right with you. And so here I was chopping down, got very dizzy, and I ended up sitting in the kitchen. My husband's like, you got to take a break. You've been working hard all morning, because I'd done errands. And then I was like, we got to chop this stuff down and all that. And I said, you know, I kind of feel this funny sensation in my chest. It's sort of right here. And he was giving me like a massage. I said, you know, yesterday I went to yoga and I had done like a number of vinyasas, which are like a series of push-ups. And between this, I told myself, oh, that's just muscle pain. But you know what? That burning sensation, when I never had heartburn, it just kept going and going. And then my husband said, you're kind of scaring me. I think we should take you to the ER. I said, I'm not going to the ER. I have my regularly scheduled annual appointment on Monday. This was Saturday. I said, I'm going to wait until that. And so I walked around 2 days with a heart attack. And on Monday morning, I ran to the train. No joke. I live about a 10-minute walk, but I made it. I was running late, so I ran. And then I walked all the way down Michigan Avenue in Chicago, because the practice is down on Michigan Avenue. And I am very blessed to say that I am part of an integrative practice, a very, very good practice that not everyone has access to. But it's part of Northwestern medicine. And before even the doctor saw me, she had them do an EKG, where every time you go in for a physical, it's just routine that they do EKG on you. And I hadn't even seen her since the year before. I just switched to this practice. And at the time, they had said, you know, your cholesterol is getting high. You should be maybe on statins. And I said, no, give me 3 months and I will get this down. And I did. I lowered my cholesterol by 40 points. I lost 12 pounds of belly fat because I was motivated. I knew my dad had this. So I
have a good understanding too. You had a degree in, what was it? Food science,
but I had a lot of chemistry and biochemistry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew. Plus I lived at, my dad had a stroke 1 year before he had a heart attack. So I was very aware of the risks of heart attack. And since I kind of went through with flying colors, like, yes, I got this because I can eat right, I can exercise. I conquered this. And I never really ate badly before, but I really was careful after that. This was flagged on my lipid profile. And she's like, so how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing really good, except for this like chest pain that just doesn't seem to go away. And she looked at the EKG and she goes, oh my God, Audrey, where's last year? And she looks last year and she said, you had a heart attack. You're having a heart attack right now. And I looked at her and I said, you know, that text message that just went off, that's my friend from California who's waiting for me at lunch. She's just, you know, at this restaurant right around the corner. Could I go to lunch first and then go to the hospital?
No.
It was logical to me because I ran to the train. I walked down, like all this stuff. I had done all this stuff. And she looks at me. She said, Audrey, if we weren't 3 blocks from Northwestern Medicine, I would have an ambulance come and pick you up. But right now, you're going to get into a cab and go to the ER.
Wow.
And I'm going to call you in. And then just, you know, the way the medical system is here, like Michigan Avenue is right on the Gold Coast, meaning it's right on Lake Michigan. It's just one of the wealthiest areas of the city. And I go into the ER, cab driver is very nervous. He goes, this isn't for you, is it? And I'm like, yes, here's a 20, get me there.
Wow.
I get in there and they call, I see this nurse running down the hall. If there's an Audrey Weidman coming to the front, you got to let her right in. And I'm looking around, I'm in line with everyone else. There's indigents in the Gold Coast waiting, all these people. But because I have the privilege of having the healthcare that I do, I had a doctor call me in. And then it's like my worst nightmare where I'm on the gurney, like you see in all the medical shows, like the ceiling tiles going by. I'm like, where am I? Am I dreaming? Am I an extra on a movie? Like, this hasn't happened to me. And, luckily my doctor had said, is there anybody you can call? Because you're going to need someone to advocate for you. And I was able to call my husband who works downtown, and he was able to meet me there. But it was real trauma for me being in the ER, thinking of myself as the healthiest person I knew. And people would say that to me all the time. Like, I was so shocked. You're like that runner dude who gets the heart attack and then dies, because I was like sort of the model. I was doing a lot of, here's how to cook and all these things. But yeah, it was really, that was a big trauma for me.
So now that you woke up from that and you've moved into understanding stress, tell us, what were some of the things that you were doing that probably pushed you over the edge of having a heart attack that if you would have known about, that wouldn't have occurred? Did that make sense? Yeah.
Well, let me just finish that. I of course, being an overachiever, I don't just get a normal heart attack. I had something called a SCAD, a spontaneous coronary artery dissection.
Wow.
So they bring you into the cath lab, and there's all these residents. It's a teaching hospital. And I'm like, I'm sorry, my boobs everything's open for the world to see, all these men's, whatever. And they go in with the cath lab, and there's no plaque in my arteries. But luckily, I was at Northwestern Medicine. Had I been in my regional hospital right here, they may not have recognized that I had a SCAD, and that stands for spontaneous coronary artery dissection, which is a tear in your arterial wall.
Oh,
it results in the bulge of, like, there's blood accumulating within the arterial wall that blocks the flow of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's they have to have really high definition imaging to see it. And it's becoming better known now. It's a lot of the mystery heart attacks that, you know, women primarily have had over years. Now they probably can attribute it to a SCAD. But SCAD is...
But don't people die from that pretty quickly? I mean, can't they die within minutes, depending upon how quickly you would bleed out?
They absolutely can. But I was lucky that it was only at the tip of my heart. And I mean, there are a lot of women, you know, if I walked into an ER without this doctor's assist saying, I've got chest pain, they'd look at me and go, yeah, right. You can wait. You know, this guy with the gash on his forehead needs to be ahead of you.
The gunshot wound, right?
Yes. Yes. And a lot of women have shared, they look healthy and fit, except for what's going on between their mind. And that's the biggest thing that I want to stress to people, is that stress is a killer. It is a killer, and it compromises your health in so many ways. As Jackie was, you know, sharing before, it can result in cardiovascular disease. Hello. It can, you know, decrease your immunity. It just sets off different biochemical reactions within you that result in the expression of genes that are unfavorable. Like if you're a happy, healthy person, your genes are expressing themselves favorably. You don't manifest a lot of diseases. But when you are living in a really bad emotional place, like I was constantly beating myself up, like I lost all this money, I can't regain it, I'm not successful, I'm a loser, how could this be? All this like negative
all the time, right? That was with you all the time.
All the time. And I didn't vocalize it much to my family. Like I didn't share what I was feeling. I should have gone to therapy, but it was just something that my family never did. I didn't even occur to me to do it. So yeah, stress, what I would say is take a breath and check in with yourself. Mm-hmm. Is it really as bad as you were making it to be? Catastrophizing, you know, is it really that bad?
Our minds do that, right, Audrey? They just take the ball and run with it and can create this whole scenario that isn't even true, but yet our body reacts to it as it being true. Is that right?
Yes. And it becomes this reinforcing cycle, repetitive cycle. It becomes habitual. And so there's a number of things that, you know, that I have learned how to do, but I guess maybe Jackie, do you want to share a little, that video that we had talked about?
We have a video that Audrey turned us on to, and Jackie is going to share that video.
Yeah.
There we go. Make sure that my sound is working here. And this is put out by the American Red Cross. Is that what you said? Or the American Heart Association?
American Heart Association.
Okay.
Go Red for Women.
All right. So hopefully everybody can see that, and I'll play it.
Mm-hmm.
It started out like a totally normal day. Mom! Okay, move objection deadline to the third line after survey. Oh, honey, for when you always use the verb estar. What are you doing down there? Did you finish your breakfast? Ow. Whew. Don't hit your brother. I mean, you have to eat something. Here. Okay, 5 minutes to carpool. Where's my coffee?
You okay, Mom?
Oh, I'm fine. Sandwich orders. What do you want?
Almond butter and jelly.
Spaghetti.
Oh, you sure you're okay?
I'm fine, sweetie.
I am so late. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Hey, honey. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You sure?
Oh, yeah. Here.
Acai, my favorite. See you guys later.
Wear your shoes. Put your shoes back on, please. You know, go help your sister. We're going in 3 minutes. Oh, my God, what am I doing? I forgot to cut off the crust. Voila. Shoes on, potty if you need it. Honey, get your sister. Okay, get her. Nobody move. I'm getting a dustpan.
Oh. Mom! I think you're having a heart attack.
Honey, do I look like the type of person who has a heart attack? I'm just gonna sit down. I'm totally fine. Don't forget to wear the high socks with the shin guards.
Forget about the shin guards, Mom.
Come on, Mrs. Underdog is not gonna wait. Whoa. Okay. 9, 1, 1. Hi, sorry to bother you. I think I might be having a little heart attack. Nothing really, just some nausea, tightening of the jaw, dizziness, shortness of breath, muscle pain, achiness, this terrible pressure in my chest. Oh, really? They can be here in how long? 2 minutes. Can you make it 10? I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of my heart and I tell the women in my life to do the same.
Sounds great, by the way.
That's nice, sweetie, but that's not my heart. That is. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
That was cute.
Yeah.
Gets the message across.
It does, because women have different signs and symptoms than men do. You think of like the crushing heart, like an elephant on your chest, that's what men typically have, but there's all those other signs. And I certainly had the dizziness and a burning chest. I didn't have a lot of the other ones, but you never know. And her sister actually had a heart attack. And
That actress's sister.
That actress's sister, yes. And that's why she was motivated to do that. And I think if women took a look at that a little bit more often, and I became very vocal after my heart attack. It was like, I had the heart attack at the end of October, and I said to myself, okay, February 1, every day in February, I'm going to do a Facebook Live and talk about my recovery. And I did that. Some of them made to YouTube and some of them didn't. I did a lot of lives. But I was really happy to hear that some women said, okay, I had a chest pain and I remembered what you said, and I'm bringing myself back into going to the doctor. And I would have been embarrassed, but now I'm not going to, because I remember Audrey and she didn't look like she was having a heart attack. So, that's kind of what the purpose of doing this. Like, you can learn from me, or you can learn it the hard way. learn it from me.
Yeah. So what do you do differently now? I mean, how do you, now that is this constant fear now that you have that it can happen again? Or do you feel that you're doing something different in such a way that it's unlikely that it will happen again?
It is very unlikely that it will happen again. The major thing that I realized is that after about, I'd say about 2 months of feeling really sorry for myself, like how could my body betray me?
Right.
I basically felt like I was in a bubble suit, like those kind that they do soccer in. They bump along and kind of not just bounce along. Like I felt I was underwater. I was in a bubble, and I was ashamed. Can you believe that? I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed that
like you did something wrong. Attack.
Yeah. And I was embarrassed that this would happen to me. And so I didn't share what I was doing with anybody other than the immediate family. And I wrote this email and I said, this is what happened. If you want to know any information, you talk to Dan. I don't want to talk about it. It was not a healthy way to process things, but I was sharing with you earlier that one of the best things I did was go to cardiac rehab. And for a SCAD, because it's a tear in your arterial wall, the only treatment really is to just let it heal. It's not where you're stented, because a stent would have been like peeling a banana. It just would have gotten worse. There was no blockage, right? It was just a tear. And so I had to wait until right after Thanksgiving to start my rehab. And then I thought, I don't have to explain myself to anyone here, because we're all here. And there were all these guys that looked like, big barrel chests, who looked like they had a heart attack.
Yeah, the perfect candidate, right?
Yeah. And then there was me. And over the Christmas break, because I think you get about 8 to 12 weeks of cardiac rehab, depending. And over Christmas break, there was a nurse who substituted that I volunteered with her. And she's like, Audrey, what are you doing here? Oh my God, what are you doing here? What happened? And she said, Audrey, you have to learn how to meditate. Now, I knew I kind of had this intermittent blood pressure. I also knew that meditation is the most effective way holistically to bring down your blood pressure. But I thought, well, if I run and I eat well and I do all this other stuff, then I won't have to meditate. But you know what? I had to learn how to meditate. The key was what was going on between the ears. That was it all along. And so the taming of my monkey mind is what I had to learn how to do. And I started out with Transcendental Meditation. And what's really nice with that is that you get, it's like 4 successive days, 2 half days, and then 2 check-ins, like 2 hours, 2 hours. And you're guided along. And with the Transcendental Meditation, at any time in your lifetime, you can go back and take a course or be part of it. It's very good work to do. And if you have a medical condition, you can get a script that will reduce the fee. It's not inconsequential. I think I paid something like $800. It might have been $1,200 for a normal session, but it kind of goes like, it supports their work in the inner city of Chicago, for example. They were teaching, these distressed neighborhoods, the kids, how to meditate in school, and more than just paying the instructor, because you're not just paying the instructor, you're paying.
And that goes back to the 70s, I think, is when TM got really popular.
Yes. And Transcendental Meditation is just sort of like the absence of any kind of thinking. It takes quite a lot of discipline to do it. And you just refocus they give you a mantra that is some Sanskrit word that you're not ever supposed to tell anyone what it is. It's based on like your birth date. And there's some mystery with that. But there's other ways that I enjoy meditating a little bit more. But that was really my whole stepping into owning what I did to myself. And that's my gateway out of stress, is really meditation was how I started. And I did want to share a little bit about sort of the trauma after you had the heart attack. When I came home, it was all about me. Oh, this happened to me. This is so awful. I didn't realize how traumatic it was for my daughters to see that, and my husband too. And the first night that I was home, my oldest daughter, she was in graduate school to be a physical therapist. So she knew exactly what was going on. She'd done anatomy, she's done all this stuff. And she came home with me. And in the middle of the night, I hear this knock on the door. Mom, I'm having chest pain. Could I come into your bed? And this is the first night not in the hospital. And I'm like, of course, honey. But I was like, okay, this is not just about me. This is really, and I know that this is something she's carried forward and has had to process, because I've always been pretty strong and I was very vulnerable. And, it really affected her in particular. And my youngest daughter was graduating and wanted to take a job in a different city, but decided to come back to Chicago in case something happened to me. So it's really not just about you.
Right.
You have a ripple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because, our heart is really the organ that keeps us alive, right? And when that it has a threat put to it, it could be an instantaneous, you're gone, much even more so than the diagnosis of cancer, which can't be a good thing either, but at least that person's not going to die in the next few minutes. But like a heart attack, they could just go bam like that. And so I could see how that would be scary to kids. My father passed away of a heart attack when he was 62. And I think now, and I compare him to his story to your story. And, we would laud him because he was such a hard worker, and he had saved 6 to 8 weeks of vacation time that he'd never taken. And I look back at that now after listening to you and think that was not something we should be lauding him for. We should be saying, Daddy, you need to stop. You need to take a break. You need to take a vacation. You've got the time, you've got the money, go do it. And we didn't ever do that. And so I think that's an important message to everybody, right? Is working hard is not necessarily make life successful and good. You've got to take care of it. Especially
if it's not in your own flow, in what you're good at. If it's just a grind to get you from here to there, it really is toxic.
Audrey, I'm really curious because meditation helped save me. I mean, just in, like you said, calming that monkey mind. And I always tell people that complain to me about stress or they can't handle this or they can't sleep. Meditation is a cure-all. I mean, it does a lot. Oh, I've tried that. So this is my question. What do you say to people that say, oh, I've tried that. It doesn't work for me. I can't get into it. I can't do it. I can't shut my mind up. It doesn't work for me.
Okay. I have a great response to that. I say, you know what? Do you play tennis? Do you play golf? Do you play basketball? Do you shoot for a hoop and you miss and you go, I can't play basketball? Or I can't get that serve in. It's like, come on. This is a different, it's not visible to the outside, but it is a way of going inward and just this continuous reinforcement. And I did want to share, we talked about this earlier, and I know, Todd, that you're a fan of heart math. I never knew if I was doing things right. And I wanted the biofeedback. And what you do is you clip this little device. It looks like this. You clip it to your ear. Let's see, I can't, it's kind of a back.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
And this Bluetooth, and it goes to an app on your phone, and you can watch yourself think different things. Like you can watch your progress. Oh, what was I thinking? I got to stop thinking that. Like you can train yourself with biofeedback to meditate. That was one of my frustrations with Transcendental Meditation. I never knew if I was doing it right. And I would always, I had this, the way my thought processes worked, I was always wanting to know if I was right. Like, it's like that type A, am I succeeding? Am I getting the A? I don't know if I'm doing it right. So that is a lifesaver for me.
Am I getting the result? Yeah, I got turned on to it by Greg Braden, and there's a lot more to it than that device. I mean, the Heart Math Institute really has done a lot of research on the correlation between the brain and the heart. And when you get them in sync, maybe from meditation or other things that you do, that is what the healthiest thing we can really do between these two. Right. And many of us live our lives with it just totally separated. I mean, they're just like not in sync. They're not on the same wavelength. And it's almost as if we're living these two separate lives, right?
Yeah. There is, in fact, like I've done a lot of, since this time, I've become a certified stress mastery educator with the American Institute of Stress. And I've done a lot of things with positive psychology. But part of what I learned in the neuroscience of things is that we have specialized cells within our heart that
Yeah.
communicate more to the brain than the brain does to the heart.
It's almost as if I think they consider that the heart has brain cells, and it's actually a smaller version of a brain.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
We know this intuitively because we say, she follows her heart, or he's all heart. Heartfelt story. That's not just a saying. It's because we feel it when we take a moment to feel it.
Right.
It is precious, and learning to operate from the higher level emotions of gratitude, love.
I want to talk about gratitude because that's you talk a lot about gratitude. I wrote in my book that in 6 Keys to Life Mastery, that gratitude is the master key, right? And I heard you say this morning that the emotion of gratitude is one step below enlightenment.
Yes. Yeah. They have like these vibrations of emotions. Don't ask me how they measure it, but it is the highest level emotion. And one of the best practices that you can do is every night before you go to bed, write down 3 things that you're grateful for and why, and make sure that they're different every day. Be looking for things to be grateful for.
It's powerful.
So, if you don't mind, I would love to be able to share some of my resources. I have a free.
Well, we only have about 4 minutes left, Audrey.
No, I mean, share the link to the resources that they can download.
Our listeners won't be able to see it, but we'll send it to Jackie and we'll put it in the newsletter and we'll make sure it's on the website.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So that's one. And the gratitude, that's like the foundation of positive psychology. The being grateful has shown, if there's nothing else you do, be grateful for what you have.
Yeah. And practice. It's a gratitude practice. And I talk to people about that sometimes. I've never considered that. Back when I was learning about gratitude and meditating and I was working with my mind, I came up with a word, and I combined 2 words that meant a lot to me, and that's gratitude and beautiful. And I came up with gratitudeful.
I love it.
Everybody loved it, and I still think about it a lot. I don't talk about it a whole lot, but you just reminded me, so maybe I should bring that into the forefront of my mind.
There you go. And Audrey, I think you've got something to offer our listeners that we'll also put into the blog and to our event page. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're offering?
Yeah, I have some online courses, and I'm taking the best of what I have, and I'm condensing it down into like a 2-hour program. But if you wanted to take that, it's going to start March 1. It's $99, and I will deliver some value, and I think you will enjoy it. It's all science-based.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Return on your investment will last you the rest of your life, so it'd be totally worth it. The best $100 you've ever spent. Check it out. We have the link. We'll put the link up on lifemasteryradio.net or .com. If you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get that too. Audrey, thank you so much for showing up as you and sharing your story and your processes. I hope you will come back, because I think there is so much more. We could have done a show for 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. It really means a lot to share this, because I don't want people to go through what I did.
Yeah.
And you have more power than you think.
Yeah. That's what sharing our story is all about, because our stories inspire others to make a difference or make different choices. How's that?
Well, you have to kind of change your life before you need to, right? I think that's an important part of lesson.
And think about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We planted some great seeds. And thank you again. Jackie, quick takeaways. Did you have fun? Audrey, did you have a blast?
I did. It was wonderful to talk with you.
I told you.
Thank you for sharing, but allowing me to share. Yes.
Did a great job.
Yeah.
That's about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. My real big hope is that you would tell somebody about a show. Tell a friend about Life Mastery Radio, the cool thoughts, the cool ideas, the cool subjects, the cool people, and the really cool hosts, Todd and Jackie, that just have so much fun. So lastly, please make it a great day, because it is all about choice. And choose to check out Audrey's stuff, because you don't want to have a heart attack and you want the tools not to have a heart attack. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life. For more information on Todd and his guests, visit his website at www.lifemasteryradio.net. That's www.lifemasteryradio.net.